What is up, folks? Welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels. Random video, but today I just kind of want to talk about 10 fantasy series I want to read again. These are series that I've been reading fantasy for far too long. Far too much and far too long at this point. And these are series that I've read anywhere between 5 to 10 years ago. And I've changed a lot as a person since then. My tastes as a reader have changed significantly, and now these series, they all live rent free in my brain, and I'm starting to get to that point where like I'm excited to go and experience them again to see if they still bring me the same joy as a reader. And just to have a good time, because some of like these series are, first and foremost, the majority of them are favorites of mine. That's pretty much what you reread, right? But anyway, enough of that. The series that I want to get into, and I'll be mentioning these in alphabetical order. So number one is the First Law series by j.r.r. Like I mentioned, it's a series that lives rent free in my brain. And one of the main reasons I want to get back to this series is I just had such a blast reading these books the first time around. And when I say I want to reread the First Law, I'm talking about the initial trilogy, I'm talking about all three standalones, I'm talking about the recent Age of Madness trilogy, and I'm thinking of Sharp Ends. So we're talking 10 books here. And one of the main reasons I want to reread this series is actually because I remember, like, recently a lot of people have been reading the new trilogy, and I'm seeing so much stuff about how much better this series is than the original and that kind of stuff, and I'm just watching it. I'm just looking at these videos and opinions and thinking, did we read the same thing, or am I just not remembering it properly? Because I pretty much read those books as they were being published. I think I got onto them just in time for the release of Last Argument of Kings, and then I read each standalone as it came out, and yeah. So I want to go read the series again, re-experience it, and see if it, first and foremost, if I still enjoy it to the extreme that I did when I first read it. I don't see it not living up, and also to see if Age of Madness is indeed better than the First Law, because it is, like I said, it's been a hot minute since I've read those books. And also if The Heroes is still the best book of the entire thing, because as of now, as of recording this and thinking back on these books, The Heroes is still the best of the entire thing for me. So yeah, there's that. The next series I want to reread is Marie Brennan's Memoirs of Lady Trent. I just have absolutely fond memories of these books. When they came out, like having a main character who was just so drastically different from all the epic fantasy being written at the time, who approached fantasy in such a unique and scientific way. Like, I just had a blast reading about her. Reading about her adventures and touching on so many different unique topics, and these kind of things. Like I can't describe how impactful her series was for me, because that's a series I read pretty much as they were published, one at a time, and they found me at a time when I was starting to get a bit saturated with epic fantasy, and it was just a breath of fresh air. So I want to see if that series holds up as well for me, because since then I feel like I've seen more negative than positive things about it, and the general consensus seems to be like people who love that series really love it like I did, or they were just meh. And in terms of the reread plans, I plan to read at minimum the 5 main books. I'm not sure if I'll read the 6th as yet, because the 6th it follows, I think, the adventures of her granddaughter. I don't recall it overly well. But yeah, anyway, to keep this moving along. Number 3 is Dresden Files. I'm just reading this for fun. Like, Dresden Files is one of my top 3 fantasy series. I just had when the first time I read it, I just could not put it down. Like I just read like I read one book a day, and I just binged these for like 2 weeks straight. I think when I the 14 book Cold Days was coming out, was just released when I finally got around to these, and I literally read one a day from Stormfront. I just got hooked right off the get go. Yeah, so I want to just have a blast with this series all over again. I don't expect to not enjoy it as much as I did, and yeah. Moving on, at number 4, I have Stephen Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fallen, and here I'm thinking of the first 10 books. The main reason I want to read this is because, like I said, it's one of those series, it's just been living rent-free in my brain since, and it's such a complex and creative series that I want to experience. I want to read it again, and the first time I was reading it, I remember seeing so many people say that it's even better on the reread because you know so much more going into it than you did before. So I want to see if it is indeed better on a reread. Right now, it's my second favorite fantasy of series of all time. I want to see if it'll take the number 1 spot. At number 5, I have Scott Lynch's Gentleman Bastard series, and similar to Dresden Files, I just want to reread this because these were just an absolutely fun romp for me the first time around when I read them. I read all 3 back to back, and I just want to have fun and re-experience that joy that I had reading them the first time around. Yeah, at number 6, I have j.r.r. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire. I want to reread the 5 books because in anticipation for book 6. Yeah, we can dream, right? Yeah, but I just want to reread this to see if it holds up. I've read quite a lot of fantasy since then, and I want to see if this series will have as much of an impact on me as it did the first time around when I read it. I read it when, like a few months before A Dance with Dragons was coming out, and it's the first adult fantasy series that I read at the time, and it made me a lifelong fantasy reader. Like it was my gateway into fantasy. So yeah, I want to see if it holds up, if I still enjoy it as much as I did. But moving on, at number 7, I have Terry Pratchett's Discworld. This is one of the series that I actually finished reading more recently. I think the last book I read like maybe within the last 3 years or so. But here's the thing, Pratchett is one of those writers, I feel like you can only get more out of it every time you read his books, because a lot of just the best moments in his book, the best things about his books are in the writing. And most readers, I think, when they think back on a series after a number of years, they remember the events, they may remember specific quotes and these kind of things, but they don't remember like the nitty-gritty of the writing itself. Most readers. I certainly fall into this category. And I just want to see if I feel like I'll just have as much of a blast with it this second time around, just for the sake of the writing. In addition to that, there were some books I think at the time I wasn't in the right headspace to read, so I want to see if I have a better time with those books, because thinking back, like at the time when I look at my ratings at the time, I may have rated it low, or I may have rated it high, and when I think back on those books now, I'm wondering what was I thinking to rate it this high or this low. So it'll be like an interesting review for me, more or less. At number 9, I have Lord of the Rings. So I've been very vocal in not being the greatest fan of Lord of the Rings, just because I feel like I don't know, like I came to Lord of the Rings much later than most readers. For many readers, like this was their intro into fantasy. In my case, I'd actually read quite a lot of the works inspired by Lord of the Rings before I'd actually gotten around to Lord of the Rings, and I feel that may have put like a twist on my my enjoyment of it. So I kind of want to just reread it as a more mature reader and see if it works for me. It like I look for and I want different things in the fiction that I read now as compared to way back when I read this, and I do want to see if I have a better time at it than I did then. And then finally, randomly, I do want to reread the first two duologies in the Avatar: The Last Airbender, in the Chronicles of the Avatar series. The first duology being about Kyoshi, the second, with the first duology being about Avatar Kyoshi, the second duology being about Avatar Yanchen. And I want to reread these pretty much only for the reason that I've been on an Avatar kick lately. Like I rewatched the first series, I rewatched Korra, and now I want to reread these books. And I read Roku, The Reckoning of Roku, a little while back, and it kind of put me in the mood. It kind of put me in the mood, so I watched back the shows, and now I want to reread the books. When I'll actually get around to rereading any of these things, I do want to start rereading the First Law very soon. At the moment, I'm actually rereading the entire Cosmere in preparation for Starlight 5, so I want to at least finish that reread before I jump into another one. But I suspect I'll spend most of next year rereading the shorter ones in here. So I'll probably reread First Law first of all, because that's the one I'm most excited for, and then I'll probably reread like Gentleman Bastards and King Killer Chronicles. Did I mention King Killer Chronicles in this list? Because that is the auto that I don't think I did. That is the 10th series that I want to reread, actually, the King Killer Chronicles. Yeah, only the two main books. I do want to see if Patrick Rothfuss's writing captures me and just blows me away the way it did the first time around. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So, to get back to where I was, I do want to reread first of all, and then I'll probably tackle the shorter series in here. So like the ones that are basically 2 books, 3 books, that kind of thing. So I may get to the Avatar book sooner than I expected. But yeah, this is 10 fantasy series I want to read again. It's a pretty generic list as far as fantasy lists on booktube go, but like I said, for me, many of these books, it's been 5 to 10 years since I've read them. Like, they live, as much as they live rent free in my brain, there's also many things about them I don't recall as well as I'd like, and I just want to experience them again, and let's see how they live up. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this list. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.